saw you last week mugging for the camera on the sidelines. We've seen you.
It was like right in my face, and when I was juiced, we were up a couple scores, and it was like right there. Like, I don't know, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I guess that's just who I am.
That demonstrative nature, and maybe even playing the role of antagonist sometimes, is that something that's always been with you, and where's it come from?
Yeah, you can ask some of the people from the neighboring high schools. That my brother married a girl from our rival high school. My brother will go to an event in there at Randolph, and he'll be like, the people there still don't like you from all the things you did when you were playing against them.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Happy Thursday, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. That was Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. Doesn't really care what people think. He hasn't been liked since high school. I'm Connor Rogers alongside Matthew Berry, Jay Croucher, and Lawrence Jackson.
He's like a young Jay Croucher, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Like, he does not care what people think about him.
Never been liked.
Probably ruins movies. Doesn't care.
Plays into the villain.
Wears the black hat.
You yell spoilers to Jay Croucher, they will keep coming.
1,000%.
I love it.
Geno Smith is probably going to win Comeback Player of the Year. Nick Sirianni should win. His personality should win Comeback Coach of the Year. Where was this last year? All of a sudden, now he's like an amazing content machine.
Well, now he's winning.
Yeah,
now he's feeling good.
Be the best team. It helps,
Yeah, exactly. You got the #1 seed. You can talk the talk.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to start with right here is the Eagles against the 49ers in the NFC Championship. Because I don't really want to start with the Jets hiring Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator. So I'm going to swerve right out of the way before.
I like the fact that not only did you skip that news. You skipped introducing Lawrence Jackson. You skipped introducing Matthew Berry. You didn't know you were you? No, you didn't.
No, he introduced us all. You missed it.
Did it not?
3 against 1. You don't even listen to my intro?
I don't. Come on,
Matthew.
I don't.
I don't expect you to listen to my takes, my bets,
Weird.
fantasy,
No,
the intro.
No, you know what I am? I'm a freaking TV monkey. I sit there and I blah, 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 Matthew. And then I talk, right? And I just, okay. And then I wait, and then I hear my name again, and then I talk. I'm a freaking monkey. So I don't want to.
You missed one introduction. You missed 3. You did all of it.
You didn't even hear your own name.
Look, maybe I'm just proud that it took me all season, but I finally learned all of your names. How about that?
Wow.
Maybe that. Maybe, and it was just like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's right. He's Lawrence. Which one of these is Jay? Jay.
Because it's hard to tell. You
Right,
know what
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
saying?
I understand.
You mix them up with Lil Jon for a while there, too.
We all look the same, talk the same. Throw Lil Jon in there, too.
There we go. It just keeps coming around.
Exactly.
So
I knew Little John.
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Yeah,
Instagram did not.
Yeah, 100%. We're tight, him and I. We're old buddies. All right. Nathaniel Hackett is now the offense coordinator of your New York Jets. So both of your guys, New York Jets. You're sitting there. You're
Titans
wearing
of
the Titans of New York.
We got a new
Nathaniel
Titan in
Hackett
town.
is the new Titan of New York. Your thoughts?
Real simple. If this leads to Aaron Rodgers, like the Broncos had hoped for last year, home run hire.
Right.
If it doesn't, terrible hire.
Right.
We're going to keep it that condensed right now.
Do you want Aaron Rodgers? Do you want that life? I guess.
Have you seen who the Jets have played a quarterback for the last, I don't know, my
but
entire existence?
It's a more wholesome existence. Losing without Aaron
Like rooting
Rodgers.
for the Josh McCowns of the world and Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
That's
Ryan
fair.
Fitzgerald.
That's a fair
It'll
count.
be fun, though. It'll be fun. Definitely interesting. Because now he'll have some players again, on both sides of the ball. So now he could really talk his stuff now if you get with the Jets. We'll see.
I wonder if Nathaniel Hackett's like big. I don't know. I've never met the guy in my life, but I wonder if like his whole thing is just sort of like he lets Aaron Rodgers do whatever he wants.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it.
So it's just like he wants. It's a little bit like when you were a kid and like can Shelly babysit? Sure, because Shelly's going to be on her phone the whole time, and you can just go to town.
5 gallons ice cream.
Yeah, exactly, 1,000%.
That is Aaron Rodgers under Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah,
it is well known.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about he loves him so much. They never say why. Is it his offensive creativity?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Is it something with his mechanics?
Right.
No, he just loves him.
Just loves him.
He's like, hey, Aaron,
because he gets
check any play at the line of scrimmage you want.
That's right. He gets to stay up past his bedtime, watch R-rated movies, and eat as much ice cream as he wants. Of course, there you go.
I think Hackett has found this incredible inefficiency where it seems like teams are just hiring him because maybe Aaron Rodgers will come. So after the Jets get Jimmy Garoppolo instead of Aaron Rodgers, then next year Nathaniel Hackett goes to Atlanta, and maybe Aaron Rodgers will come to Atlanta.
Raises the question.
Shown around.
What happens when Aaron Rodgers retires?
Yeah, then he's done.
Well, then his career's over.
But
he's made millions.
I was just going to say, welcome my co-host, Nathaniel Hackett.
Hackett, along with
exactly.
Yeah.
Drinking.
It makes you wonder, is Aaron Rodgers going with Nathaniel Hackett? Is that the new Friends with Sean McVay?
Oh, maybe. That might
we're
be.
kind of
That's
reaching
a good
that point.
call. That's
Yes.
a great call, actually. That's right. I once took a picture with Sean McVay, and I actually got 3 coordinator interviews.
Yeah.
Right.
You came close, too.
I came close. I got a cup of coffee.
Let me know where to sign up for these, because I need to get some of them interviews too. I want to do me some coordinating on some of these teams.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, listen. What is it? 15 coordinators have now been. There's now 15 coordinator openings.
Oh yeah, plenty to go around.
I'm
Plenty
just
to
saying.
go around.
Your Commanders.
My
Lawrence
commander-
calling plays for.
I'll go with
We'll
the
see
DC.
who's under
I'll
center.
rock
Sam
with him.
Howell.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Not into that one, huh?
No. Well, we young quarterback, rookie. We see, let me just do the mini camp with him. Then if it ain't nothing, then when training camp comes, I'm good. Right before training camp, I'm out of
He has
there.
an out clause. He can come back to the happy hour
Yeah.
if training camp doesn't go.
Keep my seat warm here.
Right.
All right, let's get into Eagles
What kind of
Niners.
coordinating would you do?
know,
Pretend Jay's a quarterback. Just coordinate him for a second. Just coach him up.
Can you hand off the ball?
You're damn right I can handle
I'm gonna
the
need
ball.
some running backs. I'm gonna need the best line in it. I might have to go back and get Nate Newton. Put him next to Trent Williams. Anything so Jay ain't gonna have to throw the ball. We just want to run. We gonna run wishbone offense.
Brian Robinson's gonna be really tired next year. Yeah,
He ready.
yeah, he's gonna be really, really
How
tired.
soon is too soon to fire Lawrence as the offense coordinator?
He doesn't have the job yet. And he's
It
already in the hot
depends
seat.
who my quarterback is. That's
Okay.
what
I think we have Nathaniel Hackett Jr. over here. He's like, throw what
fair.
you want.
That's not fair.
Throw what you want.
The strategy's sound though. It's what I do on this show.
This hasn't failed yet.
All right.
Nathaniel.
All right. Anyway, we all think Nathaniel Hackett's going to be a disaster in New York unless he gets
Aaron
Rodgers. In which case, it'll be fine. All will be fine.
Eagles Niners, boys.
Yes, let's go.
That's where we start. We started with Nick Sirianni, who's playing into the villain like no other, which I definitely respect. I know Jay can't get enough of it because it's his clone.
Like a betting Australian.
Barry, let's start with you. Actually,
Okay, sure. Fine.
Surprise
Let's start
here,
with me. Why
because
not?
this is your ride or die.
It is.
This is your ride or die.
We want to talk Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts priced at $7,200 on DraftKings. That is his salary, obviously on the higher end, especially when you compare it to the other quarterback in this game, Brock Purdy, at $5,300. What are your expectations for Jalen Hurts against one of the best defenses in the NFL under DeMeco Ryans?
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like this is a low-scoring game, and I get that he has the rushing upside, but just feels like you're better off. I mean, when you sit there and you look at, I mean, again, we're talking DraftKings scoring here. When you're sitting here looking at Hurts versus Joe Burrow, who's $400 cheaper, and gets to face against a Kansas City's defense. They gave up the most touchdown passes in the regular season, and a team that he's played well against in the past. It's hard to argue for Hurts against a Niners defense that allows the 5th fewest fantasy points per game to quarterbacks in the regular season, unless you're going somewhat contrarian in a tournament play. Because I don't think Hurts is going to be a popular tournament play pick. I do feel like a lot of people in DFS will be looking towards the Kansas City Chiefs game. You'll see a lot of Burrow and Mahomes, especially when you consider Mahomes is highest on the slate at $7,600. He's got the bum ankle. Just sort of feels like you either go cheap with Brock Purdy at $5,300 or you're going with Burrow. So all that said, Jalen Hurts is my ride or die. Let's just talk about. So I mean, it's two things. How do I think he plays in this game, and then do I think he's worth the price in a DFS matchup? I think given the other options, I think I'd rather save the $400 and go with Burrow. But do I think Jalen Hurts has a good game here? I do. Do I think the Eagles win this game? I do. I think they'll be up, and I think they'll be trying to move the ball actually through the air. To me, that's the way. They haven't been able to run. The teams haven't been able to run against San Francisco, but their secondary has been susceptible. I mean, CeeDee Lamb had over 100 yards in a game in which Dak Prescott played horribly last week. I mean, again, and if he hits Michael Gallup in stride, that's another 50 yards or something like that. So I do think Hurts will be successful in this game. So I think he has a good game. Like him. Just again, you have to put it relative to price.
One quote on Jalen Hurts on his shoulder. He said, "I felt better, but it doesn't really matter. Got to get it done." So Hurts obviously healthy enough to play in a massive, massive game. But
I said that to my wife last night. Literally said that to my wife.
Got to get it done was the
Got to get it done. Got to get it done.
I
said
with the lights off.
I was just
with the lights off.
With the lights off.
Yeah.
That's 1,000%. Yeah, of course. Obviously.
You can't make the club in the tub.
No, you
can't keep the wife happy in the tub.
Can't make the club in the tub. 100%.
Yeah, there
like
you
go. It's like
be fully stretched.
1,000%.
Warmed up.
Rub some dirt on it and let's get out there.
You came on to set in a great mood this morning. Yeah,
Dude,
that's how
you were
we
3
know.
minute early.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he doing? You have plenty of time.
plenty of time.
You're just wasting all this time.
Yeah. Well, I had a pre-show meeting. I had a pre-show meeting with my producers.
Oh.
You know why? Because we got the Miz coming up.
We do have The Miz coming up. Should have led with that.
Of course, WWE's Royal Rumble is this Saturday on Peacock. Of course, I'm a company man, and the Miz is joining us later in the show, and so wanted to talk about what we're going to talk to the Miz about. Miz, by the way, he's obviously a superstar, but he is a massive fantasy football player as well. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
If you were in the Royal Rumble, what would your entrance music be that everybody goes, "Oh, that's Matthew Berry walking down the aisle into the Royal Rumble"?
I think Let It Go from Frozen. Obviously.
That'd be good.
You know,
catch him off guard.
Catch him off guard.
Huge pop from the crowd.
I'm just walking around, I was looking around and it's just like, let it go. Let it go.
It'd be interesting to
Cold
see.
doesn't bother me anyway. It's just like that.
I'm sorry, guys.
It'd be
I should
interesting
not
to
have
see
done that.
coming out with that song. It'd be interesting to see what kind of costume you would have too.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. What should my entrance music be? What do you?
I think it should be Let It Go.
The slowest walk down ever.
The slowest walk down
The
ever.
Royal Rumble would be over by the time you got to the ring.
Just something unexpected. It would have to be something obviously jokey, something like, Can You Feel the Love Tonight from Lion King? That'd be pretty good as well.
Your thing is like you're not going to win, and you're not going to win straight up. So you got to get unconventional.
Got to
You
go
play
totally
mind
weird.
tricks. Yeah, you're like the Seahawks going into San Francisco.
Maybe,
Fool
exactly.
anyone.
Maybe a little, like Straight Up by Paul Abdul. I don't know. Something.
Let's keep going. Yeah, keep reaching into the back.
Yeah, just something.
Paul Abdul.
Something crazy.
Yeah, Control Room definitely wants to kill me for
Right,
getting this off
exactly.
track there. I
NXS.
apologize. All right.
Oh yeah, the Australian chorus NXS. NXS has 3 good songs, by the way.
That's true. Yeah.
There are
They
3
don't go
good
deep.
songs.
Yeah, they don't go deep. They're like
Yeah,
good
they
nose
don't. They have
cornerbacks.
like 3. I have 3 NXS songs on my iPhone right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never tear us apart.
The 3 of them.
You done got this man going.
I know.
He WWE champion now.
Yeah. Kyle Pitt's video round 2.
You know what? Mark my words, Lawrence Jackson. I will make my way. Some way, somehow, I will weasel my way onto a WWE broadcast.
I do not doubt that.
No,
Yes.
neither do.
I don't doubt that at all.
I will, absolutely. And I will, and so a lot of people like, really, and I think my goal is, because you see it here every day on this show, but my goal is to get my ass kicked on as many NBC platforms as possible, right? Here it's just mentally. But I think, whether it's, on USA or Peacock or whatever, just, physically and mentally.
Yeah, you would get put through a table, just warning you.
Obviously. By the way, we would put that out on Twitter for charity. Like, who wants to put me through a table?
No.
We might be able to cure cancer.
We'll get you on the Premier League, have Tim Howard throw you through a table.
100%. 100%.
Content machine flown over here. Jay, let's look at the other side of this game. The value, not value, the bargain shopping quarterback is Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy comes in at 5,300 for good reason.
Can I take one moment here before we get into Brock Purdy?
Yeah, sure. Take just one moment.
Yeah, go. I just want to apologize to the video editors here at NBC Roto-World that are going to have to try to cut around that whole nonsense. I just want to apologize.
Well, they could just skip the entire first 20 minutes of the show.
They're like America. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Brock Purdy. I think he's in trouble this week. I think it's tough matchup against the
The bell
Eagles.
finally rings for Brock Purdy here.
The two toughest defensive matchups he's had have been home to the Commanders and home to the Dallas Cowboys. Now he's going on the road at Philadelphia. I've never seen Brock Purdy give up on a play. Yeah, I don't believe he knows how to give up on a play. He'll just wheel around.
He's still scrambling.
Runs semicircles. Sometimes runs backwards, does full turns outside of the pocket. So I think it's going to be tough sledding for him. Obviously, Shanahan's going to do everything to scheme up as much as possible. But, the Eagles' defense is healthy now, and that's what they weren't the last month of the season. Josh Sweat is back. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is back. Avonte Maddox probably not, but they are loaded, and this pass rush is going to give Brock Purdy a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking on the pass rush, you got 4 guys on this front 4 that has double-digit sacks, right? 39 sacks in 28 quarters. Y'all know that math? I do. That's 5.5 sacks per game, and they sacked Danny Dimes. Don't check it. Just take my word for it. They sacked Danny Dimes 5 times in the wild card round, right? Like you said, this is going to be something he hasn't seen before on the road versus an actual defense who can, they have the ability to play up to the capabilities that Dallas defense played last week. If they play that same defense, I don't expect Jalen Hurts and their offense to be as giving as Dak Prescott was. So, yeah, that's why we got Brock Purdy here at such a bargain, and I'm going to stay away from that.
He struggled against the pressure last week against Dallas, right? 3 of 11, 24 yards, 3 sacks when the Cowboys brought pressure. Eagles obviously bring pressure quite a bit, 3rd most in NFL history in terms of the sacks this season. They had 75, and in fact, and to your point, they're healthy. They know this. Nick Sirianni is no moron. They're going to be like, all right, we're bringing pressure against the kid, especially on the road at Philadelphia. What's so great about the Eagles defense, though, is because they have Slay and Bradbury back there. They can blitz quite a bit. Like, those are 2 guys that, like, we're okay in single coverage right here. You know what I mean? Like, and they can bring the house against Brock Purdy. Eagles on the season, top 5 in terms of fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks here. So there's no real rushing upside to Brock Purdy. I will say this. I don't think, again, you're really feeling great about Brock Purdy. The 2 things that I will say here is that, number one, just from an NFL standpoint, everything I'm hearing is that the 49ers plan this offseason is they're going to let go Jimmy Garoppolo. They're going to try to trade him and whatever. And that going into camp, it will literally be a legit battle between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance for the Niners starting quarterback job next year. I will say this. If Brock Purdy goes into Philadelphia and beats the Eagles, leads them to a Super Bowl, and the reason they go to the Super Bowl isn't because he was 3 of 11, but the defense had 2 pick sixes or whatever, like that Brock Purdy is one of the reasons why they went to the Super Bowl, that job's his. I don't know how, regardless of what you do in the Super Bowl, if he goes to Philadelphia and beats the Eagles. The other thing is that, to your point about, and we'll talk about some of these position players here, but I just think that Kyle Shanahan's not stupid, and he knows that. And so just as we get into the other players in this game, I think you're going to see a lot of bubble screens to Deebo Samuel. I think you're going to see a lot of dump-offs to Christian McCaffrey. You're going to see a lot of stuff trying to get the ball out quickly to counteract what they know is going to be a lot of pressure coming at him.
Yep. Let's get into the skill guys then, because there's a lot of high-priced options. We'll go back to the Eagles first, because 2 premium wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith here, Lawrence, where the price is barely different at all. Brown comes in at $7,000. Devontae Smith comes in at $6,800. Simple as this. Who's the better play between the 2 this week?
The past couple of weeks I've been going Devontae Smith, and that's formed to be true. This week I'm going to go A.J. Brown. He said a little something this week about wanting to get the ball. He made sure to say, look, I'm not a diva. If I got to block to win, that's what we're going to do, but I want to get the ball. He didn't have to get the ball because the Eagles ran all over the Giants, but prior to his 22-yard week against the Giants, he had 4 straight games of at least 95 receiving yards. So I'm liking him in this game, and like you mentioned earlier, Matthew, they're going to have to throw to win this game because it's going to be too tough to just think you're going to run all over the 49ers run defense.
Yep, I think with Brown and Smith, the fact that there's only $200 separating them as well, which is a fairly small gap, and it's also not like the Niners play. It's not like they play a ton of man, and Devontae Smith is just going to get Lenoir every play. Like, it is mostly zone stuff, and A.J. Brown's just better than Devontae Smith. Yeah. Devontae Smith's awesome, but A.J. Brown's a different caliber of player.
And he's got more touchdown equity, right? I mean, he's just got a better chance of getting into the end zone. By the way, Niners bottom 10 in the NFL in terms of deep touchdown passes allowed. So you certainly could see Brown get into the end zone. The other thing that's nice about Philadelphia is the target tree is fairly narrow. It's really those 2 guys and Dallas Goedert.
Yep.
Right.
The highest priced player in this game, guys, no surprise, Christian McCaffrey comes in at $8,000. And listen, there's some concerns here at that price. He did not practice Wednesday. He's been dealing with the calf that they showed on the broadcast last week, him nursing the calf when he came to the sidelines. You have Elijah Mitchell getting workload, although he didn't practice either Wednesday. Barry, is that price just simply not worth it at a massive mark of $8,000?
It's probably not worth it in a cash game. right? It's really expensive. Having said that, the problem is that you start looking at the other running backs, right? And you're just like, okay, you're gonna have to pick a Chiefs running back. You got Mixon, who was losing some time to P. Ryan, and then and then on the other side of the ball, you've got, is it Sanders? Is it Scott? Is it Gainwell? Is it Hurts in terms of how they move the ball running against a tough Niners defense? So whereas I don't think he generally speaking, you usually want like triple the points on DraftKings. Like, so if he's $8,000, you're going to want like 24 fantasy points from Christian McCaffrey, right? With the 49ers this season, he's averaging 22.5 fantasy points per game. So he needs to have kind of a good level. So probably not worth the price. But I don't mind him in a tournament play because I think most people will avoid the high price. And so I don't mind trying to go a little contrarian there.
Yeah, there's the perception as well that the Eagles have a bad run defense, and they did for a stretch, but then they just started signing everyone who's ever been a good run defender in NFL history. And after week 11, they were actually a top 10 rushing defense. So it's not going to be easy to run on the Eagles.
Right. And by the way, he may not be 100% healthy. I mean, right? Again, so he didn't practice. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Under 50 yards rushing in 2 of the last 3. Under 70% of the snaps in 2 of the last 3 as well. So I just, it's pretty pricey in a tough matchup.
Getting some of that work in place of McCaffrey has been Elijah Mitchell, who comes in at just $4,900. Lawrence, any interest there as a bargain play? He does have 50-plus rushing yards in 2 of his last 3 games. Yeah, speaking of being contrarian in a tournament play, you could go there, but the thing is, we don't know why Elijah, was this part of the game plan? Does it have to do with Christian McCaffrey's injury? They're both a little banged up, so you just don't really know. So it's like Matthew said, when you start looking at the other running backs, like Elijah Mitchell is like, he's up there with the Chiefs running backs when you're considering guys in some type of timeshare, because they're both, a little banged up, both didn't practice. It makes it. I'd be weary about that a little bit. All right, 2 lightning rounds here, guys. We'll start with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. Deebo comes in at $5,700. George Kittle in the tight end position, $5,200. Barry, which one would you roll with?
I actually kind of like both in this game, as you just mentioned, like Avonte Maddox. Like the one area that you can attack Philadelphia is the middle of the field and the slot, because Bradbury and Slay are so good on the perimeter here. But if I had to choose one, Deebo Samuel. Just there's more ways for him to touch the ball. Yeah. Again, I think you'll see a lot of bubble screens. You'll see him in the backfield, especially if McCaffrey's less than 100%. And so for me, he's $500 more than Kittle. But I do think Kittle's interesting too, because he's got a connection there with Brock Purdy. If I have to pick between them, give me Deebo, but I do think both guys are interesting in this game. Prefer both of them to like Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, both pretty close. I might lean Kittle just because he's $500 cheaper, and I think that with the pass rush, just with like Kittle's a big guy who's going over the middle to counteract the pass rush a little bit. Purdy, I think Kittle probably has more touchdown equity as well. He's got multiple touchdowns in 3 games with Purdy, but yeah, it's close. Deebo has more upside, I think, to explode for 150 yards and a touchdown than Kittle does. The positives on Kittle, 21% target share since week 16 with Brock Purdy under center. The negatives are he's a really good blocker. And again, if they're bringing pressure, they're like, listen, George, stay in line and just chip a guy. Lawrence, last one here. Brandon Ayuk comes in at $4,400. Dallas Goedert comes in at $4,100. Dallas Goedert, 4 straight games of 40-plus receiving yards. Yeah, and Goddard being cheaper, I'll take him over Ayuk since he's returned in Week 16. He's getting 5 targets, 4 receptions, and 54 yards a game. Now, in that same span, Ayuk has been better. However, since Deebo Samuel has returned from injury, he's getting 4.5 targets, 3 catches, and 52 yards per game. We don't really love that. I like Goddard, the team that's going to win, the team I feel like has the better offense, so give me Goddard in that situation. All right, let's close this one out here, guys, looking at the most bet NFC Championship prop board. And Jay, that leads me to ask you, what are your best bets in this game? So, my 2 best bets in this game, one we just talked about him, George Kittle, over 3.5 receptions. It's just too low. It's George Kittle. Yeah, and yes, the over is back to -150, but he's gone over in 6 of Purdy's 7 starts. I think that he will go over. This is the first time that Brock Purdy has ever been an underdog. It's the first time he might have to drop back and throw 45 times.
So I think that Kittle will go over 3.5. And then this is a fun one. This is living. Miles Sanders under 6.5 receiving yards. He hasn't gone over in the past 5 games. He's maxed out at 1 target. He hasn't got multiple targets in any of those games. Niners very good defending running backs in the past game. So Miles Sanders does not get to 7 receiving yards, Connor.
That's the one you sweat until literally the
it's
last.
a terrible bet.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Happy anytime.
Great for the anxiety.
Yeah.
Great for the anxiety.
But it wins. It wins.
With that, we'll take our first break. When we're back, we're doing the same thing.
By the way,
for Chiefs Bengals for
Just
the
gonna
AFC
throw this out there.
Championship.
If you want to just like Brock Purdy, 8.5 rushing yards. 8.5. Like again, we
know he
likes
loves to run around.
Throw a dart.
We know he
gotta
likes
be
to
vertical.
run around. Exactly.
Run
He just
north.
needs
He runs
one.
backwards.
Not east and
though.
I know
west.
he runs backwards a lot.
We're back after this.
I don't like barbecue, but I went to Q39. I asked my fans where I should go. I have the stomach of a 10-year-old, right? Like of a delicate 10-year-old. Let's be clear. Like but I braved it in Kansas City to do that, and you know what? It was awesome. To be clear, my stomach isn't the only thing of mine that is like a delicate 10-year-old.
What?
Sometimes they're for me, sometimes they're for you. There you go.
Matthew
that one
Berry,
out.
toughing it out.
No,
Patrick
don't try to
Mahomes,
figure it out.
toughing it
fingers
out.
buried.
Yeah, we can
best
just
to move on.
we'll just let it lay. Yeah, let it lay flat for a little bit. All right, guys. Chiefs Bengals. This is just, how do I even start? All right. Patrick Mahomes dealing with his
I'm
own.
soft tush is what I'm really going for right there, Lawrence.
You should just left our minds to
No,
wonder.
let
us wonder.
No, but then I thought that's not fair. Let you have that image on your drive home.
Really activated the sickness as we've left the regular season of the NFL.
Thank you, Matthew Berry.
This is the longest, because normally when I was back at ESPN, the regular season ended and then I was done. But now
we're reaching scary waters.
I'm just saying, like there may have been, like ESPN may have been right. They've been like, listen, we know you can only do about 17 weeks of content, and then we're done.
Right.
What's February going to look like?
Oh my God.
We just
we're
truly
doing
don't
a
know.
full week at the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
that could
that
be,
should go fine.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
It's the Matthew Berry equivalent of international waters.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
There's no government, no
No,
rules,
no, whatsoever.
no
rules.
policies.
No.
Conference championship.
All right.
weekend.
Smooth transition here, guys. Let's get into the game. Patrick Mahomes priced at 7,600. Obviously, the higher end of quarterbacks here. Mahomes has said he's ready to go for the AFC title game despite having a high ankle sprain, typically an injury that there'd be no chance of him playing. We know Mahomes is just going to play through this game. It's as simple as that. Lawrence, despite the injury with Mahomes, are you still willing to pay up that price for him in daily fantasy?
Yeah, so I think he'll be fine. First off, I'll say that first, but I won't pay the price because you got Joe Burrow here who's cheaper,
Way
and
cheaper.
they could put up similar numbers. So even though I feel like the Chiefs will still win this game, when we're talking about picking a quarterback for DFS, give me Joe Burrow, who averages 327 yards a game against these Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. He could put up the same numbers for a much cheaper price, so I wouldn't pay up for him.
Yeah, the only reason to pay up for him is honestly to go contrarian, because I think almost anyone looking at this for more than 10 seconds is going to be like, why don't I take the cheaper guy who's healthy? Like who gets to throw to Jamar Chase and gets to face a Chiefs defense that gave up the most touchdown passes during the regular season, gave up the third most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, is averaging over 20 fantasy points per game in the playoffs this year. To your point, Lawrence, against these Chiefs, the 3 games that, the Bengals have all won against the Chiefs, 327 passing yards per game, 8 touchdown passes in those 3 games, just 1 interception. Like, I think Mahomes will play well. I'm with you, but I don't think he plays $400 better than Joe Burrow here.
Yeah. Firstly, the video of Mahomes at the press conference and when he walked down the steps and kind of had a little hop, he looked fine walking out. That moved the line 2.5 points after that came out.
Wow,
It went
how
from
that
Bengals -1.5 to Chiefs -1. So everyone is watching Patrick Mahomes and his gait very, very closely in the betting world. I agree. I think he's probably going to be 80% of Patrick Mahomes. I think probably the consensus that I hear that is forming and the unsubstantiated consensus is that he'll probably look fine inside the pocket and then not good outside the pocket. So he'll probably just stay inside the pocket. But I think Mahomes will play relatively well, but Burrow is definitely the safer play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his rushing prop is, but I'd take the under on it.
No one's offering it yet.
Yeah,
no one's brave
exactly.
enough
So
at this
there you
point.
go. They haven't posted a line yet. But yeah, like we're not expecting a lot of mobility there from Patrick Mahomes. But I will also say is that, like, again, he's walking around fine, and even though maybe he's at 80%, but the fact is that when you're out there and the adrenaline's going and whatever, you got Trey Hendrickson on your ass, like you're running, like I realize my leg hurts, but I'm going.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I speak from experience there.
Look, he against the Jaguars after that injury, he fell into like a 6 or 7 yard gain after that. So it definitely
be over on the rushing front. Contrarian play.
All right, guys, we know the chalk play for his pass catchers is Travis Kelce. No surprise there. He's priced at $7,800. You're going to pay up for a dominant threat. But is there any value at all with anyone else in this offense in terms of the pass catchers? You have Juju Smith-Schuster coming in at $4,700. Here's the problem, Barry. Juju has 9 catches in his last 4 games.
Yeah, I'm not in on Juju, but I will answer the question: is there value anywhere else? And I think there's 2 places. Number one is I do think Jerick McKinnon. I think people will be off McKinnon this week because he had the poor game last week, because from the box score, Isaiah Pacheco had the better game. But if you look at it, McKinnon played more snaps, played more snaps, got more ran more routes. And in a game in which I think they're going to have to throw to keep up, and we know how good the Bengals are at bringing pressure, and again, Mahomes isn't going to be as mobile, they're going to want McKinnon. They're going to want McKinnon, who's the better pass protector, back there, right? I mean, because again, they've got a less than 100% Patrick Mahomes. So I think McKinnon plays even more snaps. Again, he outplayed him, he outsnapped him, and ran more routes than last week. It just didn't show up in the box score. But McKinnon's been the better running back for the majority of this latter part of the year. Give me McKinnon in a game in which I think Kansas City will have to throw, and I think he's going to be on the field quite a bit.
Lawrence, you rolling with McKinnon over Pacheco?
Oh, yeah, for the same reasons. And he got 11 carries last week, too, right? So that's something we're not used to seeing every week. Again, because of Patrick Mahomes' injury, they'll lean more on the run game for it, as far as both running backs are concerned. So you add some of the rushing to his receiving value, so I had to go with him. And as you said, Matthew, being a better pass protector.
Jay, a little bit of a slump on the Bengals side of things for T. Higgins. Under 40 receiving yards in 5 of his past 6 games. He's priced at $5,400. Is this a bounce-back spot for Higgins?
I think so. I mean, the total in this game is 47.5. It's going to be high scoring. The one concern I would have is that the reason everyone wrote off the Bengals last week was because of their offensive line, and I think a big part of that was that they were in the snow, and it got mitigated. The Bills' pass rushes were mitigated a bit by it's just harder to rush the passer when you're going to go through snow. And so I do think that might hurt the Bengals this week. I don't think their offensive line will play as well. But look, Burrow's done whatever he wants against the Chiefs every time they've played. So I think that Higgins and Chase will be fine.
Barry, we started off the show talking about Christian McCaffrey's high price of $8,000, and you countered, well, good luck with the rest of the running back plays. Joe Mixon comes in at $6,500. But we've seen Samaje Perine 40% plus snaps in both playoff games. So is that a reason to just stay away from Mixon?
He's averaging 49% of the snaps in the playoffs. That Samaje Perine is, which, so you just look at the other side. That leaves only 51% for Joe Mixon. Did that math in my head. No big deal. NBD.
Good
just
job,
saying,
good job.
I'm not just good looks. I'm also a math genius. The positives of Mixon are that he's getting involved in the passing game. Over 5 targets a game over the last 5 as well. Chiefs give up the second most targets per game to opposing running backs. So the fact that Mixon might be involved somewhat in the run game, the game's at Arrowhead. They clearly wanted to, take all the cliches you want, but they did clearly want to establish the run last week against the Buffalo Bills. I think you could see Mixon get a decent amount of work here in a game in which they're going to need him. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind him at 6,400. I think they're, I prefer McKinnon to Pacheco. I don't think I really want any of the Eagles running backs here. McCaffrey's too high priced. So you're really choosing between basically 3 guys, like Mixon, McKinnon, and McCaffrey, I guess. You know what I mean? Like if you want to, roll the dice on Sanders, I suppose. But I don't mind Mixon. I don't mind Mixon there. Perine will be more involved. That's really that's the only concern there on Joe Mixon is how much run does Samaje Perine gets. But it does feel like they're, in a game like this, they're going to want to lean on the veteran.
All right, Lawrence, real quick, let's look at the clearance rack here. You got Tyler Boyd at $3,800, Hayden Hurst at just $3,000, Kadarius Toney at $3,700, and MVS sitting there at $3,600. Is there any of these 4 that you'd consider playing?
Yeah, Kadarius Toney at 3,700, right? Travis Kelce led the Chiefs in a large margin with 17 targets last week. Take a big drop, and the next guy was Kadarius Toney with 7 catches, made 5 catches. 7 targets, made 5 catches and 36 yards out of that. Also had the 14-yard rush where he almost scored the touchdown. Then he got stopped at like the 2 or the 3 yard line. He's looking we thought this a few weeks ago. With every week, he's getting more and more involved, and it's clear that, I don't know, maybe it's now that they're realizing, he better than Juju, because we can't count on Juju. So if you can't count on another Chiefs receiver, take a shot with a guy who's this cheap on the slate, who's got upside.
I don't disagree with anything you just said about Kadarius Toney. 2 things I want to mention. One thing I wanted to mention on Mixon real quickly was the fact that with their offensive line issues, the key has been getting the ball out quickly for Joe Burrow, and that involves the running back as well. And also, that's when it's easier to run block than it is to pass block. So in general, I do think that's another way to mitigate some of the injuries they've had on the offensive line is by running Mixon quite a bit on the road at Arrowhead. The other bargain bin guy that, again, wouldn't want in a cash game, but in DFS, I think it's sort of interesting, and I wouldn't mind kind of putting a bet on anytime touchdown, is Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah.
Just because I think he'll see some Eli Apple. And I think Eli Apple, who's been running his mouth on social media, he doesn't make a lot of friends, and I just think Eli Apple is burnable. Is very burnable, and I think that he'll find himself on MVS. They're going to take a couple of shots and try to pick on Eli Apple in this game, and I think MVS is the most likely candidate. You could see some Justin Watson, but yeah. Anyway, I don't mind a small bet on anytime touchdown for MVS or again in the bargain bin. Yeah,
plus 333 on BetMGM. MVS, anytime
there you go.
Touchdown score.
All right.
Plus 333.
Let's close this out looking at the most bet AFC Championship prop board. Jay, what are your best bets looking at this game? 2
best bets. One, we talked about him. Jerick McKinnon, over 27.5 rushing yards. He played 44 snaps last week, 65% of the snaps. 27.5 is just too low for a running back in a Patrick Mahomes offense. Playing that much, maybe Mahomes is limited, and McKinnon is running more. And then my second bet, this is an easy one. Chiefs money line. Chiefs are winning this game.
There you go.
And the way to think about this is last week, Bills and Chiefs were rated about the same. Bills closed 6-point favorites home to Cincinnati. Now the Chiefs are only 1-point favorites. And obviously Mahomes being limited and Cincy looking awesome last week has to bridge the gap a little bit, but 5 points is too big of an adjustment. I think the Chiefs should be 2.5-point favorites. I think they win.
I'm with you on that one. All right, guys.
Can I give you 2 quick ones real quickly?
Yeah, please.
First off,
we got a kicker prop here.
Evan McPherson over 1.5. Come on, Money Mac. Let's win. This is him and Butker both over 1.5. Over 1.5 field goals. And again, just off the MVS thing, longest reception 17.5 yards. Yeah. I kind of like that one too.
Sure. If he gets one, you think it's over that?
It's over 17.
Take that, Eli Apple.
Right.
We're going to break. When we're back, WWE Superstar The Miz joins the show.
I know what you're thinking, but don't you worry. I didn't forget about my fantasy football trade. I might need a little wine, but I'm focused. I'm gonna get this deal done. Step 1, draw your wife a bath.
Oh my God.
Step 2, grab a bottle of champagne and some strawberries.
Love you.
Step 3, find the nearest computer and finalize this deal. Hey, do you guys have a business center? That's how it's done. Hey, oh, you're out.
At the end of the day, you'd rather do a little online game instead of getting naked with me.
You want to get naked? Let's get naked. Look, there, done. Let's go.
Oops.
Come on, look. Brace. Come on. Come on.
And that piece of genius is, of course, Mike the Miz, the A-lister.
Don't tell me you've never been in that situation before. Your wife, wants to spend her time with her, but you've got a big deal, a big trade that needs to be done right then and there, and you kind of just maneuver.
1,000%. The only difference is The only two differences between me and you, and that's because I've done exactly that. I've done all those things to try to get some alone time to try to distract my wife while I do a fantasy football trade or waiver wire pickup or lineup setting. The only difference is there haven't been cameras on me, and my wife can't kick my butt. I'm pretty sure your wife can kick my butt.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She's one of the longest reigning women's champions in WWE history.
She is a superstar, as are you, my friend. You're the first ever two-time WWE Grand Slam champion. And you are here because we want to talk about the fact that the road to WrestleMania begins at Royal Rumble. 30 men, 30 women competing for championship matches at WrestleMania. So we want you to watch Royal Rumble this Saturday live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And every WWE premium live event is only right here on Peacock. And so, Miz, let's talk right now about that's a clip from your show, Miz and Mrs., which is on USA Network, right?
Yes.
I think the two important questions, I think, off that clip. Number one is, do you remember what the trade was?
Jonathan Taylor. I would get Jonathan Taylor, and I believe I was trading nothing, like literally like bench people for Jonathan Taylor. And it was when Jonathan Taylor's, that was his year. It was like, oh yes, it wasn't last year. It was the year before that. And so it's when you wanted Jonathan Taylor, and it sent me to, I didn't win the league, but I got in second place. So it was I was the first loser, which I always can't stand, because there's this one league I call the Awesome Fantasy Football League where you could win the George. And the George is our fantasy championship. It has my dad's face on it. That's why it's called the George. His name is George, which you could see on Miz and Mrs. He's on all over the show. But I want to win this title so badly, but I can never win it because this league is so tough. And this year I thought I was actually going to get it because I had Jonathan Taylor as a keeper, Javonte Williams as a keeper. I thought Michael Pittman was going to do something because at the beginning of the year, everyone was like, Matt Ryan, oh, he's going to be his Julio Jones. Oh, this is going to be great. And then I had Travis Kelce as my tight end, and everything went to hell because everyone got injured. I had to make trades, finagle things, did terrible in that league. But I did win my Allison Chains and Friends League, which it was for charity. We all play for Connor's Cure. We donate something and then we put it up for auction. And this year I actually won, and my quarterback actually went down. It was Jalen Hurts went down, and I had to pick up someone. So who did you pick up? Danny Dimes. And Danny Dimes got me like 50 points in my championship. So I was pretty stoked. And now all the money and all the proceeds that we raise are going to Connor's Cure, which is to raise money for pediatric cancer.
Which is an amazing thing. I've played in the Allison Chains Charity League before as well. Those guys are great guys, and they do a great job with it. So congratulations on that championship right there. My other question about the clip was, and then we'll get back to your fantasy nerddom, which is really what it is. But my question about that is, so the trade was for Jonathan Taylor. Did you eventually that night end up getting naked with your wife? Were you able to talk your way into that? You're a pretty charming guy.
My way. Let me tell you something, Matt. Something about me, okay?
Sure.
When I have a goal and I have set out on that goal, I achieve that goal. So even though she gets a little upset about she can't stand, by the way, my fantasy football, because I'm in like 5 leagues and I'm dedicated. I'm motivated. I'm listening to your show all the time, which, sorry to say, my wife isn't a big fan because she does not like football at all. Like my wife, if I'm watching football, she's like changing it to a cartoon so my daughters can watch the cartoon. And so I have to go to another room to watch it. So, but I'm able to finagle things. And I finagle my way into my wife, I can say. I don't know if you can say that.
It's Peacock. I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine, right?
It's totally good. Everything goes on Peacock. But I was going to say, is clearly to anyone watching that may not know, people that are just fans of you from whether it's Miz and Mrs. or whether it's from wrestling, they may not know that, you're one of us. We were talking, this is a true story. We were like, hey, we've got the Miz on. We're going to promote Royal Rumble. We were thinking we could ask him about this match. And I'm like, guys, I've known Miz, you and I have never met, but we follow each other on social media. And I'm like, Miz is a hardcore fantasy player. like the interview can just, I promise you, we could just talk fantasy football, and Miz will be be absolutely fine on this as well. So which one you're in 5 leagues. I know you already mentioned the Alice in Chains league, so you're probably in some celebrity leagues. So do me a favor, what's the most important league to you? And then name drop. Who's the most famous person that you play with in another league? Because I know you're a superstar. You get invited into a lot of these celebrity leagues.
Oh man, I mean, so my most important league, obviously, it's hard to say because the one I'm most dedicated to is the one from my back home in Parma, Ohio. It's with all my friends from Cleveland. I've known them since we were kids. We've played since we were kids, and we're still playing to this day, and it keeps us attached. Like, I live in Los Angeles now. They all live in Cleveland, and we all just live different lives, but fantasy football allows us to still have that common ground, that conversations that we still have since we were kids, and just a lot of smack talking. You can win the George, but then there's my other leagues that every other league I'm in, I could win charity. Like, it's for charity. It's for Connor's Cure. It's for pediatric cancer. And so I'm always dedicated and motivated for those. The NFFC league that I was in this year, I tried to draft very differently in every league. So I'm not put with the same type of team, because if I mess up, and which I did in my awesome fantasy football league, because I went running backs, and I don't think this year was a running back type of draft. Like, I went really weird with my NFFC because a lot of people go for wide receivers. So I kind of did that plan, and I ended up with like Jamar Chase. I ended up with Kelsey, Waddle, and my running backs were like Damian Harris. And then I had Breece Hall, who I thought was going to shine out, and he was. And then all of a sudden he gets injured, and then just injury after injury after injury. Like, if you can get rid of the injury bug, you can win your league. And then having Burrow in like 90% of my leagues, because Burrow went probably 7th round, 7th, 8th round in my leagues. And Burrow was like top 5 every single week. Just, he's been dominant. And you just look at this guy and you're like, is he the next coming of Brady? I don't think so. I think he's going to be one step up from Brady, because I believe he was younger as he first came in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No, I think, look, Burrow's going to be awesome. And in fact, the NFFC, which you mentioned, is a large, high-stakes tournament. And so you always want to try to kind of zig where other people are zagging, because just sort of going by normal ADP tends not to win those kind of large tournament leads. So I think
it's so hard. It's so difficult because everyone is so knowledgeable. But I actually did really well. I think I got like top 3 get to go to the next round or something like that, and I got 4th. Which I got so many injuries, and it's so hard on the waiver wire with these leagues because there's no trading. And I love to trade. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just trade. And I guess you could say murder people, because they think they're getting a great trade and they're not. Like this year, I made one trade that I was like, I needed running backs. So I traded Kelsey for ETN, Pickens, and Dallas Goedert. And this was before Dallas Goedert got injured. Right. And so I was like, I'm in the money. And not only that, it was a keeper league. So I get a ETN as like a 12th round keeper. So I was like, I'm dominant. And then it just, Kelsey's Kelsey. Kelsey is who he is. And I think every year I'm just going to get Kelsey in the 1st or 2nd round from now on.
Yeah, well, at some point he's going to hit the wall, but it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. He was 100
even when he
points
hits
better.
the wall, though, this guy is so knowledgeable. Like, do you listen to his interviews? Some of the things that he knows, a tight end shouldn't know. This is what a quarterback should know. So even if he does slow down, I think he's going to be able to find the open spaces because he's that smart.
Well, and he's with the right quarterback and the right coach to be able to help him do that. So there's no question about that. Miz, let's talk about this in terms of fantasy football. Like you talked about you being trading. I would not want to trade with you, because I'd be like, well, Miz is going to kick my ass if I you're both sharp in the ring and in fantasy football here. Do you play in any leagues with any other WWE superstars?
Seth Rollins is in another league with me. In my Alice in Chains and Friends League, it's Mike Inez and Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains, Jeff Garland, James Roday, Michael Bublé, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. So, you got a bunch of people. Then Seth Rollins I play with. and we're always talking fantasy football. Like in the locker room, like a lot of the guys play fantasy football because honestly, it's one of those things that it gets you even more involved. Like I can't stand when a football player goes, I don't even watch fantasy. I don't care. It's like the go-to thing, but don't they realize that the reason a lot of people watch football is because of their team? And the reason they're not just cheering for, the reason I'm not just cheering for the Cleveland Browns, but I'm cheering for other players and invested in other players is because of fantasy football. So I think everyone needs to start more appreciating in interviews. Like I love Austin Eckler. I'm actually in a league with Austin Eckler. And I was like, this is great. He should be in a league. More people should be in a league. And he didn't even get himself, by the way, in the league because everyone took him. He was like the third pick, and he traded up to go to the second pick, and the first pick was Austin Eckler, which was a great pick this year.
Yes, it was. We actually had Austin on this show as well, and he told that story as well, which is awesome.
Isn't he great?
Don't let Austin Eckler get Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler's too good. Austin Eckler's too good. Like, you know what? Josh Kelly can draft himself. But yeah, Austin Eckler doesn't get to draft himself. Hey, let's talk Royal Rumble here for a second. So I noticed, you're a massive champion, and yet I noticed you're not on the lineup. Is there a chance we could still see you at Royal Rumble? Miz, what's going on? The fans want what the fans want.
The Royal Rumble is my favorite match. If you've never seen a WWE show, a WWE match, you don't know what it is, what it's like, this is the show to watch. Royal Rumble, as a child, was my favorite. It got me hook, line, and sinker. 30 superstars. 2 superstars start in the ring. And then a minute and a half goes by, another superstar enters. Then another minute and a half goes by, another superstar enters, until all 30 are in the ring. Now, those superstars that are in the ring are trying to throw each other over the top rope. So the first superstars, you could be in the ring for 3 seconds, or you could be in the ring for like an hour. Like I've had both. I've had both where I've been in the ring where I literally ran out and literally got thrown out right away. And I've also been the first person to be in and literally go through all 30 and just make it to the end and not quite end up being the champ. I've never won the Royal Rumble. It's one match that I have always wanted to win because it was my favorite as a child. It's my favorite premium live event that WWE has. It's full of surprises. It's action-packed, and it's very difficult, and it's the road to WrestleMania. This starts all the programs that is going to happen to our Super Bowl, which is WrestleMania. And this year, it's at SoFi Stadium, 2 nights, April 1st and April 2nd, Saturday and Sunday. It's so big that you couldn't just hold it in one night. So it's definitely intriguing. It's engaging. It's fun. And the crowd is so interactive. Love seeing them back, cheering who they love, booing who they hate. They always kind of boo me, but that's quite all right. So as far as Royal Rumble's concerned, for me and my career, I definitely want to be a part of it, but I'm not going to reveal any secrets. The reason being is I like the element of surprise. Yeah. I'm going to surprise my competitors.
Listen, I think it's going to be awesome. As you mentioned, the road to WrestleMania begins at Royal Rumble. 30 men, 30 women competing for championship matches at WrestleMania. Be sure to watch Royal Rumble this Saturday live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and every WWE Premium Live event, of course, is only on Peacock. Mike, we will follow you on Twitter at Mike the Miz. We will check out Miz and Mrs. on USA Network. And listen, next year, you've never slid into my DMs. Let me hook you up. Matt Camp told me earlier this week that he's been giving you some bad advice. So,
oh my God. I said Javonte Williams was going to be the man, and he told me he was going to stink, and the Denver Broncos were going to stink. And this was when I was like, they got Russell Wilson. They're going to be amazing. They're going to be incredible. Their defense is going to be stacked. And then he was right. And I'm so aggravated by that because I don't like it when Matt Camp is right, ever.
Awesome. Well, listen, next year we will definitely have you back. We'll talk Browns and fantasy. Thank you, Miz. Good luck if you do wind up at Royal Rumble this weekend. We'll be back right after this.
The action never stops at BetMGM. Sign up now using bonus code BERRY, and your first wager is risk-free, up to $1,000. Simply download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com and enter bonus code BERRY to make your first wager risk-free, up to $1,000. And if you want to get in on the action, it is time for Last Call. We are looking at Best Bets for playoff stat leaders. Something to know here, guys. This is not just for the conference title games. This also will count in the Super Bowl, so choose wisely.
And this is, I think, it includes games that have already played.
Yes.
Exactly. So,
Which
like,
leads
at the
to
end
Burrow
of the
being a heavy
playoffs,
favorite.
who has
Yeah.
the most playoff passing yards? And obviously, like, if you think the Bengals win for the 4th time in a row against the Chiefs, Joe Burrow at plus 110 makes the most obvious sense.
Yes, I think the best bet on the board here is Patrick Mahomes. Don't know if you guys have heard of him, but I think that the Chiefs will beat the Bengals, and then that knocks out Burrow, who's the favorite in the market. I also think that the Eagles will win, which knocks out Purdy, who is in front of Mahomes and Hurts. So I think that Mahomes is the best bet.
Let's get into playoff receiving yards here, guys. Jamar Chase leads the board at plus 150. A pretty loaded board here. Lawrence, anyone you like besides the front runner and Chase?
Well, we like simple things. I'm going to keep it simple. I expect, like Jay, for the Chiefs to win. So that gives you Travis Kelce right here at 650. He's already got 98 receiving yards. So give me him. I expect the top 2 there, Chase and Samuel, to be out after this week.
A.J. Brown is sort of interesting to me at plus 2,000. I know he had the bad game last week, but I think the Eagles win, and I think he'll be a big part of it. And then he'll be in the Super Bowl.
Yep, I think Brown and Smith, both at 20 to 1. I think those are the two best bets there.
And Smith has a little bit of a head start on him, too.
Yep.
This really just comes down to who do you think is going to win.
Exactly.
And then pick the biggest target.
It's going to be Chiefs and Eagles.
So.
Chiefs and Eagles.
Eagles, baby.
I think it's the
I'm
Andy
only
Reid
on the
Bowl.
Niners on
All
this
of
test?
us. Anyone?
I'm on the Niners.
You're on the Niners.
I'm on the Niners. I'm on the Chiefs as well, but
Good luck to you,
Niners.
Connor.
So you,
Good luck to
Chiefs
you,
and
my friends.
Niners, the 3 of us are the Andy Reid Bowl. For Lawrence, Jay, and Connor, I'm Matthew Berry. Thank you, Miz. Peace out. Watch Royal Rumble on Saturday. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.